Thank you, Almitri. That's wonderful. Please take note in the order of service where there's a description about Almitri that we include his YouTube channel where he has lots of music. Wonderful. Very, very talented musician. Thanks, Almitri. Well, good morning to everybody here at the Aldea and on Zoom. Welcome to our Sunday service. My name is Susan MacDonnell, and I'll be the service leader this morning. We welcome all of you joining us today, wherever you are, right this minute, wherever you come from, whatever your religious background or none, and whoever you love. You can bring your whole self here. Me llamo Susan MacDonnell, yo seré la líder del servicio. Les damos la bienvenida a todos, donde quiera que estén en estos momentos, sin importar su religión, y a quien amen. Pueden traer todo su ser aquí. So I don't think we have announcements for today, so I'll just go into what are our usual reminders. As always, after the service, those on Zoom are invited to stay connected in the main room to join with others in discussion. And if you're visiting on Zoom, you can type your name in the chat box, how you heard of us, where you're from, and you'll be greeted later at the end of the service. And those who are with us today at the Aldea can join us for coffee and cookies over in the corner afterwards to enjoy each other's company. And you can also explore our membership table, our Social Justice Foundation table, and just enjoy meeting each other. On the back of your order of service, you'll see reminders of our Thursday lunch and games that take place every week at La Frontera restaurant. And you can join other regulars and new people at Tom's Tuesday morning coffee hour on Zoom. If we have visitors here today, would you stand if you're willing and able so we can see who you are, and then later during coffee hour we can actually chat with you and find out a little bit more about you. Any visitors? Hola, gracias. Welcome. Welcome, gracias. And we do record our Sunday in-person services. You can always find these about a week later, perhaps. You can also find all of the library of past services on our YouTube channel and on our website. I think you can go to the older ones as well at UUFSMA.org. And if you haven't visited our website ever or recently, please do. Our communications manager, Iván Méndez, has been making some really colorful and lively changes to the web pages and making the information a little easier to find. So I encourage you to check that out. So now we'll just take a nice deep breath and relax. Welcoming this beautiful morning, however humid it may be, and that's not my favorite type of weather. But it's nice and cool here now. So welcome, everybody. I'd like to share these opening words for the chalice lighting, and I will do double duty and not forget to light the chalice candle. We come to spiritual community this morning with many hopes in our hearts. The hope for inspiration, the hope for comfort, the hope for renewal. In this time and space, may inspiration water our thirsty souls, may comfort blossom in the gardens of our hearts, and may renewal course through us, bringing us vitality and rejuvenation. May our time together honor all the hopes we hold within. Let us worship together. So I invite you to stand as you're willing and able to sing our opening hymn, number 170. It's in the hymnal, and it will also be on the screen. And then stay standing for our covenant. We are a gentle, angry people.
and we are singing, singing for our lives. We are a land of many colors, and we are singing, singing for our lives. We are gay and straight together, and we are singing, singing for our lives. We are gay and straight together, and we are singing, singing for our lives. We are a gentle, loving people, and we are singing, singing for our lives. We are a gentle, loving people, and we are singing, singing for our lives.
It's a perfect song for these times. So please join me in English and Sebastian in Spanish to recite our fellowship's covenant. It will appear on the screen, and it's in your order of service. This is our promise. It's created by our fellowship, our promise to ourselves and each other, a promise we aspire to fulfill in how we relate to others and the world. We respect the interdependent web of life and work for a just and peaceful world. We encourage the search for truth and meaning, strive for compassion in our relationships, and seek values that will benefit our lives and the lives of others. This is our covenant.
Respetamos todos los estilos de vida dentro de su red interdependiente y trabajamos por un mundo justo y pacífico. Alentamos la búsqueda de la verdad y la comprensión total. Nos esforzamos por mantener compasión en nuestras relaciones y buscamos valores que beneficien nuestras vidas y las vidas de los demás. Este es nuestro convenio.
Thank you. Please have a seat. I wasn't very well organized today. Sorry. Just when I think I have all this down pat, I forget something very important. This is an important time in our service when, as a community, we can share each other's burdens and occasions for gladness. If you have a joy or concern you'd like to share in a future service, feel free to send an email to Reverend Tom. I think the email shows up on the screen. If not, it's on the back. Before that Sunday. And if you're on Zoom, you can type it now into the chat box, and I will receive it by some electronic magic. If you came in person, there are joy and concerns cards at the welcome table. I have one here. So if you have one that's on your mind when you come in, write it down, and I will receive it as well. Our first candle is a candle of concern for our, what do we call her, mothership of our fellowship, Ellie Goodwin, who has been struggling for several weeks now with debilitating back pain. I don't think she has answers yet, but it's leaving her exhausted, and I'm sure she's quite fed up with not being able to get out and do all of her social activities. we hope that she finds some answers and ways forward soon. We share our concern in the next candle for Françoise Yohalam, who's also had a rough time. She's been healing from a severe bronchial infection for a number of weeks, and she is someone who, like Ellie, we think of as more or less unstoppable. It's unimaginable that she's not sitting up here in the front and ready to pass offering baskets later, but let's keep her in our hearts too and hope that she heals quickly. We have a great joy in that our Minister Tom Rosiello is delivering the sermon today, albeit by Zoom. They're not back from the US yet, but they will return in September. And the additional joy that he is recovering well from the hip replacement. Our joys and concerns aren't just limited to those here in our community. They extend into the world. Our first will light a smaller candle, one of these, of grave concern as we witness the wholesale dismantling of national government in the US at the hands of people who apparently care more about wealth and power than they do about finding a common purpose. And as we have for 3.5 years, it seems impossible, we light our blue and yellow candle for the people of Ukraine, fighting for the survival of their country. We remember all those killed, wounded, and displaced on both sides of this devastating war, and we pray for a lasting ceasefire. We light our red candle for all those suffering in the Middle East, especially those affected by the drawn-out Israeli-Palestinian conflict. Our hearts break for the now over 55,000 Palestinians, women, men, and children, who have died, and so many more on the brink of starvation without medical care and shelter. We again pray for a ceasefire. And in the US, right over our border, we light a candle of concern and sorrow for the people of Kerr County, Texas, who were so badly affected by the flash floods this past week. Over 55 have died, many are missing, including so many children who were at a camp right next to the river. And we share the sorrow of their hurting families. It's also a candle of thanks for the dozens of emergency responders who remain in an active search and rescue mission to find all of those who are missing. And our final candle, as it always is for all the joys, sorrows, and concerns that haven't been shared, but that you may hold unspoken in your heart, that others may hold. So we acknowledge those. Now, as we hear Almitri play our meditation music, you may come forward and light a candle for yourself or a loved one.
take my hand. Join me as we press forward, as we move with unrelenting speed towards a new world, one that we breathed and forged together. A place where all are welcome, a true community. Take my hand. Join me as we infuse freedom, weave compassion. See, this is what happens when we fashion a world centered in love. This is not a walk in the park, nor for the faint of heart. This is a journey, and all are invited to take part, where we reach down deep, reach down past comfortable, reach down past what's superficial. Reach down where past and present pain overflows. Reach past the temporary to bring hope and healing that will endure. We will reach back to pass the torch. Each of us a spark, but together a flame that roars. Take my hand, and then take another's. For this is what you are called for, to walk down this broken road, to demand that every voice is heard, to forge a world where justice is assured.
Reach down, Lord.
would you please rise in body or spirit and join in singing, "Where is Our Holy Church?" The words will appear on your screen. It's also in the hymnal, number 113. Where is Our Holy Church?
It's called Where is Our Holy Church? Joseph will play the entire tune first, and you are welcome to sing and stand in body or spirit if you'd like.
Good morning, and it's great to be with you via Zoom this morning. I know some of you think that the hymn we just sang is kind of stodgy. Well, it is a 500-year-old tune, but I, for one, love those old tunes. And I think the words set to that old tune in our hymnal are masterful. Written by Edwin Henry Wilson, an early humanist Unitarian minister, the hymn poses questions and answers that I believe are a good place to start when we look at the role of liberal religion in these challenging times. The questions and answers set forth in successive verses of the hymn describe our religious tradition as one that exists in us and among us, in relationships that are based on uniting with others as equals to address injustice, support each other, find inspiration and hope, while connecting to the deepest within us. Our faith is a call to action based on ethical values that we share and find support for and affirmation of in community. Our church is a place where hope is nurtured and mutual support and strength found. So at the outset, let's recognize that this kind of religious tradition offers tools to help us figure out how to address the challenging times and support us on that journey. Of course, many religions have teachings that certainly challenge some aspects of what's going on in the U.S. right now. But perhaps a church defined as Wilson's hymn does is particularly equipped to fortify us for the challenges we are facing. It is in challenging times when it's really important to know who we are and what we bring to the table, and to ask what in our tradition gives us perspective, resources, and strength to meet the challenges of these times. The church that Wilson describes in the hymn is one that evolved in parallel with the United States. The same values and principles shaped both, and those values and principles are being challenged now. And some are attempting to rewrite the history. So on this 4th of July weekend, I want to start there with a bit of that shared history. In April, the United States celebrated the 250th anniversary of an uprising to reject the power of an authoritarian ruler. a ruler who really didn't care about how his policies affected the average person, but only how it enriched him and his wealthy cronies. Loyalty to the king was what was required, or else you were stripped of position and branded a traitor. Well, as most of you know, I'm Minister Emeritus of an old New England church, the First Parish of Stow and Acton in Massachusetts. It's just a few miles down the road from the Old North Bridge in Concord, where on April 19th, 1775, men from the Stow militia left in the dark of early morning, carrying lanterns to see their way, to join the Concord militia and proceed to the Old North Bridge, where the famous shot heard round the world was fired. Each year on Christmas Eve, replicas of those lanterns that the men carried were placed on each side of the pulpit in the church in Stow. That history of fighting against authoritarian rule, against a king, is in the DNA of that congregation. Well, within a year, the protest led to that formal declaration of principles upon which a new nation would be built, one that would have no king, but was to be democratically governed and guarantee individual rights and the equality of all people. The uprising against the authoritarian rule of old King George was the result of, guess what? Tariffs. Well, at least the straw that broke the camel's back was tariffs. Outrageous taxes on imported goods, sugar, and of course the tea that got dumped into Boston Harbor. Tariffs that made certain goods unaffordable to average people. But the uprising which led to the Declaration of Independence was about much more than tariffs. It was about the denial of due process, about pressuring local legislators and courts to toe the line, to get on board with the king or face the consequences. The document that articulated the long list of not only grievances against the king, but the principles of democracy, human dignity, equality, and inclusion, principles of the Enlightenment, and upon which the U.S. was founded, was signed 249 years ago this week. Even then, people realized that these principles were not self-executing and self-sustaining, especially in future generations that had not known the hardship of what authoritarian rule really meant. Diligence and often taking action would be required. You know, we've often heard the quote from Benjamin Franklin when asked, "What kind of government do we have, Dr. Franklin?" And he replied, "You have a republic if you can keep it." For the first time in my life, I think I really know now what he was getting at. Some historians believe that if you look at the history of nations, 250 years is generally about their longevity before something from without or within comes to take them over. It seems to me that we are at a critical point right now, a point not dissimilar to the events that created the United States. As an aside, let me say to those who are Mexican or Canadians or from other countries, what's happening in the U.S. can and is happening in other countries too. Authoritarianism is contagious. Moreover, the effects and consequences of what's happening in the U.S. reaches well beyond its borders. And as Mexicans well know, the hate and fear that is generated is often focused on those who come from other countries. The economic consequences are felt by other countries. Even the sovereignty of other countries is threatened. I'm afraid to say that this is your sermon too. Well, here we are again, 250 years after the first No Kings protest, with a wannabe king who's doing his best to take away basic rights, restrict freedoms, and devalue many groups of people, denying them their inherent worth and dignity. And on June 14th, millions of people in thousands of locations gathered to hold up No King signs. I'm afraid history does repeat itself. So why this admittedly oversimplified view of American history in a UU sermon? Because there is another history unfolding at the same time. In many ways, based on the same ideas and principles, even involving some of the same players. It is the history of our faith tradition, a religious history that evolved in parallel to the history of a country. Yes, As those of you who've taken my course that I offer once or twice a year know, the history of our faith tradition does have roots going back to the Reformation and even to biblical times. But Unitarian Universalist history really comes into its own in the early days of the United States. What I want to make clear is that this is not a political speech. It is a sermon to address how we as religious liberals respond to the hate, overcome the fear, and find ways to bring our religious principles to the public square. For me, that begins with an understanding and an embrace of our history. Let's start with a very basic idea that freedom and democracy are, for us, religious values. They are so because they are based in the belief of the inherent worth and dignity of every individual. For us, democracy, freedom, and the affirmation of the inherent worth and dignity of every individual are defining values of our faith tradition and have been for a long time. Moreover, going back to the 1600s when our Calvinist Puritan forebears fled church authoritarian rule, we long ago rejected authoritarian rule of bishops or an external church hierarchy. Freedom and democracy is not something apart from our religion. It is in every UU's religious DNA. It is important that we remember who we are at this very critical point in time. But this foray into US and UU history is hardly adequate to meet the moment. Grave injustices are being done with every stroke of the pen. Hate and fear are being spread through acts that can only be characterized as cruel. They're happening at lightning speed, seemingly planned to overwhelm us, executed by people who suggest that either they're in line with their religious values or that religious is a pietistic personal act that has nothing to do with the world affairs. Not for us. Our faith has always been one that was engaged with the issues of the time, based on the values and principles we affirm. From abolition to women's suffrage, to the civil rights movement, to LGBTQ activism, liberal religion, our religion, is a religion plugged into the world. It is not that we reject theology and prayerful spiritual side. We all need that. But what really defines us is, to quote the book of James, deeds, not creeds. So the first lesson I draw from our faith tradition is, don't check out. Boy, is it tempting to wash your hands of the whole thing. Even more tempting for those of us in Mexico, maybe who are here specifically to get away from it all. Don't resign yourself to believing that this authoritarian takeover is inevitable. The manipulative message the administration is sending is that they have won. Don't fight back, it's useless. But no, that is not the case. Many are working overtime in the court and elsewhere to challenge these moves, and even though many are suffering and being made examples of, in most cases Trump will lose. Remain hopeful and engaged. Speak your truth, a truth based on the principles of this faith. Resist in ways that work for you. The second lesson is, don't go it alone. In a very good way, I was surprised when I read an editorial in the Washington Post by Perry Bacon Jr. entitled, "Don't doom scroll about Trump, do these 5 things instead." What a great word that is, doom scroll. Of course, it means don't excessively, compulsively consume news in a way that increases your stress, anxiety, and affects your mental health. Mind you, he's not saying be oblivious to what's happening or go through the world with blinders on, but he is saying that there are much better ways to spend your time. Ways that can actually help you and better focus your energy where it's needed in these crazy times. Do you know what was the number 2 thing on his list of 5 things that people should do in these challenging times? You are not going to believe this. His number 2 recommendation was to join a Unitarian Universalist congregation. Bacon pointed out that he had recently done so in Louisville, Kentucky, and found it very helpful. He pointed to the fact that there is a growing number of people particularly liberally inclined people who are religiously unaffiliated and not regularly congregating with people who share their values. He's telling people that we are uniquely poised to help people meet this challenge. I say amen to that, and let's not keep it a secret. Of course, what he's talking about is the power of a religious community to support each other and to collectively engage, and do so from a place of not just shared values, but faith of what we believe is right and just. This is a time to be active, involved in this or any other Unitarian congregation. Wow, I never thought I'd read that advice in the Washington Post. We need to be reminded again and again of who we are, what our truth, our values are, and we need to connect to our best self and find the courage to bring that to the world. And that's what happens in UU congregations, what happens right here. So let's not keep it a secret. Invite your doom-scrolling friends to join us. We need them, and they need us. So as Bacon recommended, we should not go it alone as individuals. But we also should not go it alone as a religion. We also need to work with other faith traditions whose teachings align with us, at least on some issues. As you heard from a wonderful sermon a few months ago, the golden rule, do unto others as you would have them do unto you, is really part of every faith tradition. But more than that, the Abrahamic faiths all teach that it is our duty to welcome the stranger. Jesus taught that we should lift up the poor, the downtrodden, those who are oppressed, whose rights are denied. Judaism teaches that what is required of us is to do justice and practice mercy. Central to Judaism is the concept of tikkun olam, which means to repair the world through acts of kindness, social justice, and community service. It's a calling to act to address injustices, alleviate suffering, and work towards a more equitable world. We have many differences with other faith traditions. We disagree on many issues, but in this time of crisis, we should bring our voices together. We should stand together, engage together in the areas of our shared values and belief. It's sad to see some conservative religious leaders fall in lockstep behind a man and a movement that really is contrary to the many important teachings of their own faith. We need to bring together those in liberal religion and beyond to raise their voices and condemn what is happening as forcefully as we can and based on what each of our faith traditions teach. A third teaching I draw from our tradition is stand with those whose rights are denied. Speak out for them when they cannot. Speak out for other reasonable people who may not see the gravity of this situation. As a former lawyer, the denial of due process and the disdain for the court system has truly been shocking to me. We should be intensely angry about this loss of freedom for many people. But the truth is, it's a loss of freedom for us all. It will spread from immigrants who committed crimes to all immigrants, to their supporters, from trans people to all LGBTQ people, from challenging some votes to massive attacks on election systems to delegitimizing election results when they don't go the way that they want. From removing books from libraries to telling teachers what they must teach, what they cannot teach, and banning foreign students from our universities. It's all shocking and contrary to the freedom upon which this faith was founded and the principles that we embrace to guide us. These actions are all direct attacks on the idea that every individual is equal and has inherent worth and dignity, that the democratic process and that freedom and the justice upon which it is founded. It's an attack on the importance of pluralism and diversity in our institutions and on the idea that we are all interconnected, interdependent. How is it that DEI became a dirty word? Diversity equity, and inclusion. That is our religion. We are a DEI faith, and I'm proud of that. Are you? If so, let the world know DEI is part of our religion, and probably part of theirs too. The tent of Abraham, the father of monotheistic religion, was open on all sides. Radical equality is integral to the Christian Gospels. The voice of religion needs to speak loudly to this. But to me, I guess the most shocking thing about all these executive orders and the firing of people and ICE raids and personal attacks is the hatred and meanness with which they're being done. The stirring up of hate and fear is part of their playbook. As a faith tradition, we have always centered compassion in our treatment of others. We can never buy into hate or succumb to fear. We are a people of justice and compassion. It's sickening to me to see the cold lack of compassion in this administration. Little children with cancer who are now receiving treatment being deported. Mothers ripped away from their children, even mothers who are nursing a child. Where is their humanity? Where is their compassion? Unidentified, ununiformed, masked men raiding schools or churches or grabbing people off the street. The tactics we are witnessing are things I never thought that I would see in the United States of America. The fear that exists in these targeted communities is horrifying. We have to call that out. We have to be angry, but as the hymn with which we opened our service reminds us, we are a gentle but angry people, and we are singing for our lives. We cannot respond with similar tactics, but instead we must show the world the opposite. The opposite of hate is love. The remedy for fear is love. We must show forth in our lives for those under attack. We must stand with them. We must welcome them and give them safe harbor in our community. We should not attack those arresting people for no reason. We should shame them. Where there is hatred, we need to bring love and healing. At the very center of our faith tradition is love, and all the other values spin off of that. So my final bit of advice is to let love be your guide. Demonstrate all the values that flow from love. Condemn the haters with love. In the words of Francis of Assisi, where there is hatred, let us sow love. Be witnesses to a better way. Maybe that sounds naive, but love is the most powerful force in the world, stronger than hate, stronger than fear, even stronger than death. We have a different vision, a vision that is unfolding against the stark, contrasting, hateful, cruel, unjust, authoritarian backdrop. At the same time, the Enlightenment ideas were creating a new vision for the religion on the Unitarian side of our faith. John Murray, the founder of Universalism, also proclaimed a new vision for the Universalists based on love. The video you watched an excerpt from earlier by Kyle Peterson's A Vision Unfolding pulls those threads together. I leave you with this invitation paraphrased from that beautiful work. Take each other's hand. Infuse freedom. Weave compassion. Fashion a world centered in love. This is not a walk in the park, nor for the faint-hearted, but a journey in which all are invited to take part. To realize the vision, we must reach down deep within, beyond the comfortable, beyond the superficial. Reach down past the temporary to bring hope and healing that will endure into a place where justice is assured. This is what our faith calls us to do. May we rise to that challenge. I now invite you to join in singing hymn number 131, Love Will Guide Us.
Love will guide us.
Well, a worship service full of reminders to love is a great thing. A few months back, we on the service committee made a simple change in how we list this time in our weekly order of service. It had always been called, at least in my few years here, offering time, something to that effect. And I don't recall now what prompted that change to a time for generosity. But it truly feels more fitting, and each time I see it in our order of service, it's a reminder to me to think outside myself. I'd like to share these words. Our time for generosity is a time to remind ourselves of how many gifts we have to offer. We give to remember that we're part of something bigger than ourselves. We give because we believe in music and sacred space, love and social justice. We give with the faith that together we are enough. We're so grateful for whatever you can share during this time of generosity, and we commit as a fellowship to ensure that the funds we gather collectively do a greater good for our fellowship, for our community, and for the world than they could have done alone. So we now gratefully welcome your offering to sustain and grow the life and mission of this fellowship. Thank you. Not working? Okay. We all know the song, but we don't have the music or a pianist, so from you we receive, and to you we give back. Thank you. So today, rather than closing words, we're going to end as we began. We'll send out a lively and heartfelt greeting to another UU congregation. So many of us have connections to UU congregations in the US or Canada and elsewhere, so it can be a good reminder to us that across thousands of miles, we're part of an interconnected web of fellow Unitarian Universalists. Some of you may remember 2 weeks ago when our visiting minister, Reverend Ernie Mills, shared a greeting from his congregation to us from North Carolina. So as part of our efforts to nurture connection, this is our chance today. We're going to ask that all of you participate in sending a greeting of hola and bienvenidos a San Miguel back to the wonderful people of his UU Fellowship of the Carolina Foothills in North Carolina. Diego, one of our two supermen in the tech section, is going to help us do just that.
Hi, great. So we're going to record just a few words. They will appear on the screen in a moment. And we'll just follow up those words, and I will record them with my phone. So, can we, what can I say? Yeah, can we stand up, please? It will look nicer. Yeah, okay, so the words are on the screen. Let's do one practice for the Spanish part. Okay, I won't record yet, so let's do, okay, and I will like do 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So let's practice number 1. Say, bienvenidos desde San. Okay, and now let's practice number 3. Amamos escuchar su salud. Okay, and yeah, the rest is in English. So now let's do like really joyful, so they can. Yeah, you can do whatever you want, because it's a nice greeting for them. And actually it will be nice for a future video for the congregation. Let's see. Let's see. Can the back people come like to the center so we don't have like dead spaces, please, or something? Yeah, just a few. It will look nicer. Yes. Yes, okay. Almost. Yeah, it's coming, so you can also see the words better. Yes, nice. Okay, so. Yeah, do you feel ready to it? Okay. Okay, start recording, and let's do number 1. Excellent. Thank you. That was it. Soon, I hope.
Yes. Yeah, please stay seated for the postlude. Mitri will play for us. And thank you, everybody, for being here today for an interesting and meaningful service with us.